Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here.
John Schultz.
Here. Minutes of the September 15th meeting were emailed to us. Do we have any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I'll approve as emailed.
Second.
Motion's carried. Thank you. The minutes of the September 28th executive session.
Motion to approve those.
So moved.
Motion's carried. We have minutes of the September 29th special meeting.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion's carried. Ooh, got that done.
Those are
Is this a
sweet
recording?
I was going to say those are sweet and fast. Huh?
Tim, did you have a chance to look at those easements for AEP?
I was doing it as, that's why I was late. I was reading
You
them.
wanna just table that to the next meeting? Does that help you?
Go ahead, and I may try to get through those because I'd like to get them off my desk.
Excuse me. At the last meeting, at the last regular meeting on September the 15th, we approved a contract for the roof at the old train depot down on 7th Street. We accepted a quote from Carter Lumber. We have to not accept that because they cannot fill out the E-Verify portion that we need.
Okay.
So they can't provide that, so we got the re-quotes on that, and again, Arnold Lumber was $8,250 to do this work, and Limberlost Construction was $10,200. So I make a motion to approve Arnold Lumber to do the roof contract on the old train station.
Second that.
So, motion's carried?
Yes.
Got it.
Carter Lumber couldn't do the...
Could not do the E-Verify. Is that right, folks?
What exactly is E-Verify?
It says an immigration type
State
thing.
statute that you have to, as part of a contract, get a certification from anybody that you're dealing with, contracting with, that they don't employ illegal aliens. And
That's what we
That
have
they
trouble
can-
with Hitchcock all the time.
that when
Well, I haven't worked for Carter for 28 years, but it still doesn't surprise me.
really, just me, only kind of a surprise. Huh.
Bill did.
Yeah. Did you check with Arnold Lumber to make sure they can E-Verify? They've already done that?
They've done work.
They've done it for other projects, so we can just accept it one time. Okay, Tim, I'm going to turn over to you. The sale of Old City Hall at the special meeting.
At the special meeting, the board approved or accepted the offer that was submitted by PIP. The purchase agreement was signed, and we have now completed the title insurance work, with the exception that we're still waiting to find out whether the buyer is going to finance the property or pay for it outright. I think they have had an inspection done and they're waiting for the report, and depending on what the report shows in the way of any kind of remediation or renovations, that may or may not determine whether they're going to borrow funds or whether they're just going to go forward with completing the purchase. So I don't anticipate any problems, and it should be something that goes forward pretty smoothly.
You don't have to do any other motions or processes or anything else. It's done.
We can announce it at council
We can
then?
announce it at the council meeting, and then it's just a matter of moving to the closing. So,
Do you have
as
an
far as
idea when that closing will be?
It has to be before the 29th, right?
I think the agreement said October 29th or within 3 days after approval of financing. So if they do finance it, that could delay the closing. But, at this point, the agreement removed the contingency for additional parking It waived the inspection that they required previously. So the price that was offered was the average of the two appraisals, and I think that's what it was listed for, if I recall. So,
So it's done.
yep.
We'll just announce it then at the
Yep.
city council. Good. Mike?
Yeah.
Good. We had interviews with the police officer in the executive session on the 28th of September. And do we make that announcement here at city council or both? Probably both.
We have to
You have to, I think the board has
discuss it and
to...
officially vote.
Oh, yeah.
Right, this is the recommendation.
All right. So we had a vote on it. We interviewed 5 people.
Do you want someone
I
here?
can never pronounce his name. I'm
Would you-
embarrassed.
Well,
do you
then
want-
I'll go.
Okay.
It's Teddy Bessison.
That's the son?
You making that a motion?
33-year-old,
I will.
is a 2002 graduate of Belmont High School. He resides here in Decatur with his wife Mary and 3 kids. He's big in youth football. He'll do us a good job.
I will second Bill's
Teddy
recommendation.
Bessison.
He was an excellent interview and stood out. Not that the others weren't good, but he stood out way above the rest.
So we'll also announce that at the city council meeting. Is that all right with you?
Yes. Can I make telephone calls now?
Yep.
Yeah, get her done.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Anything else?
No, that should do
Thank
it.
you.
Bill Carbach. How'd you spell his name?
It's a Bessesen.
Bessesen?
Yeah. Bessison.
I never knew it.
I've never heard of that name.
He was a great.
Love you.
Did you get that spelling in?
Yes, thank you.
Talked to Jeremy Gower about the alleys we've been talking about for a couple meetings. Anyhow, he wanted to do some more research about what utilities were down there, and he hasn't got that done, so we'll just table that, if it's okay, to the next meeting. You know, give him some time.
If you
Nate,
don't mind, I'd really like to have it tabled for 2 meetings.
so it'll be the November 2nd meeting?
I don't think there's a real rush. I'd like to be involved in that, and I will not be here on the 20th, so,
Me
I-
either.
yeah.
All right, not a problem. You won't be here at the next meeting?
No,
Yeah.
no, I can be available by phone.
That could be an interesting meeting.
Thank you for sending a proxy.
I'll take care of things, don't worry.
I don't know if there's one in our office. That's the problem.
Nate, if you would, we're going to talk a little bit about Master Drive.
I knew Teddy Bessison moved to town about 6 or 8. Nice kid.
Yeah. Is that on? Okay, Nate's got a project down on Master Drive, a drainage project, so I'll just turn it over to him.
Yeah, well, last night we actually had a public meeting with the residents down on Master Drive where we went through the history of the project, what was kind of shortcomings of the development in the past, what the city's done over the last 3 years kind of in preparation for that project, because that was a priority project even when I had started with the city. And everything from ordinance changes to rate increases, all of those had to be put in place before we could really address it financially. There's actually a set of plans behind me on the table in the back where we've had that out for public review. Of those that we sent mailers out and the newspaper had contacted, we had 9 attend the meeting. For the most part, the general consensus was, when are you going to start? So we...
How many residents would you say you sent? 25,
We
30?
sent 30 letters out
30
because
letters.
we wanted to contact the homeowners that would be directly impacted. Those are on the east side of the road. So there's approximately 60 homes along that master drive that would be totally impacted by the drainage, but the way the development is proposed is we're going to put the storm sewer underneath the sidewalk. The water line is under the middle of one lane, and then the sanitary sewer is under the other, and the only place I have available then is to take the trees out and put it underneath the sidewalk in our right-of-way. So no easements are required. I've got a design of the plan as far as the storm sewers and structures. It's certainly needed. The street is essentially a bowl. It's low in the middle and high on both ends, and so all the water runs to the middle and then tries to run between the houses to get out over to Mix and then to Lewis over toward the river. So it's not an ideal situation, so the only real fix we have is to try to repipe it and to pipe it a different direction.
How far?
We're going to go from the existing inlets on the north, south to Washington, east on Washington to a 48-inch.
So the entire street?
Yeah,
the whole length
the
of
entire
Master
street.
Drive?
The only homes that wouldn't have sewers in front of them are like the last 4 or 5 on the north end. So we wouldn't go all the way to Second
North
Street,
end on the
Winchester
east side.
Street.
Mm-hmm.
So
Down
we
Limerick.
stop short of that, but we take that all the way south. Currently it's a 12 or 15 inch that's actually leaving that location. We'll be taking a 24-inch diameter pipe. It's about 6 acres of watershed with a pipe that just cannot take it. There's only 4 inlets on that entire street, 2 of which are on the top end. They don't take hardly any water at all. To try to meet the inlet capacity calculations, it goes from 4 to 16. So it's 4 times the inlets on that street.
So now there's 4 inlets.
Now there's 4,
and when the
really
project's
only
finished, you'll have 16.
Only 2 of those actually do much. When we're done, we'll have 16. So it's a market improvement. It's not
And you
just
say it'll go
every
under the-
issue, but it's going to deal with the surface water that we've got.
Under the east sidewalk?
Under the east sidewalk. So they'll get new drive approaches and new sidewalks as part of this project. It should stay behind the curb. I've got one estimate as far as what I think the project can cost if we just try to bid it out right, or how we can try to fund that within the stormwater utility. Right now, with the rate increase, this is really the priority project. So as soon as the money's available,
This is why we raised the stormwater rates, is to do projects.
do projects like this. So this really is 2016's drainage project. So this is the better part of, this is most of the year's collections with the rate increase.
How many
So,
trees, Nate?
All of them.
I didn't total up the trees. Some of the small ones, Jeremy's going to look into, see if the homeowners want, we'll take them and transplant them back behind the sidewalk so they can keep the trees. The larger ones really need to be removed anyway because they're heaving the sidewalk, so it's kind of a dual benefit. Many of them were hoping that part of this would be to repave the road. Unfortunately, now we're starting to say, what other things could we do while we're down there? Well, stormwater can't pay for a new road or new street lights. Those other things need to either be added onto the project through other funds or be follow-up projects. We try to not tear the street up forever. So that's what Jeremy and I are going to look into, seeing what can we fit as far as street funds to follow this project out.
Similar to what we did out in Anthony Wayne here a couple of years ago, you know. Stormwater put the pipe in, and then Jeremy's budget kind of took care of the paving, and there was some other things that we did.
I think I did some other drive approaches and curbs and the rest in that area, and a little bit of grading work. That one was finishing up before I started. So
I was just on, I think, Lewis Street by Soya. That street itself's not good.
And that one, of those 3 streets, Lewis is the last because that's going to be there's right-of-way issues on Lewis. It's wider and narrower and wider, so we're going to have to make resolutions to do acquisition to try to clean up the right-of-way width on Lewis. So, and really the drainage from Master is causing problems on those other 2 streets. So we need to start here, and then we're going to kind of see what the results of this project are to mix.
So what was the feedback from you said there was 9 residents there last night at your meeting about when you told them all the trees on the east side would probably come down?
They were disappointed, but well, are you fixing our drainage? And that was the goal. And they said it's a cost of progress to get this done.
And then they'll get new sidewalks too.
They'll get new sidewalks and drives. So that's who we wanted to try to approach. We reached out to everybody with letters on that side. So
We won't do new drives all the way up to their garages. It's just
it is just
to
the
the
drive
back.
approach. So it'll be within our right of way, similar to what you saw on East Monroe Street. Since we're not changing the road profile, there's no need for us to get temporary easements or go back beyond that. So
The sidewalks are set back away from the street
There's
4 or
a little
5
green
feet,
space,
right? Yeah.
So
And are you talking about all the trees beyond the sidewalk, or just the trees in that island area?
from that island area, so from the back
Just
of
from
the
the island area.
sidewalk to the back of curb, that area is going to be essentially about the width of this table.
Anything between their front porch and the sidewalk, those trees are okay?
Yeah.
We're not
Essentially, there are trees. It's our right of way.
They're on our public right of way, they're
Right.
park trees.
Right.
So, I suppose if they were to challenge us, we could have that debate, but the argument was move forward with the project. That was at least their recommendation. So,
So they were in favor of, there's two ways to do this, maybe we
Yeah.
should explain. One is just to bid it out to a private contractor and have them do it all.
Yeah.
The other way is we do some of this with our own forces.
Similar to that, using the Anthony Wayne model, as we'll call it. With this, though, because of the size of the sewer and how quickly we want to try to get it done to kind of keep the disruptions limited, I'd like to use a contractor to build the main line sewer from Washington north to the north end, but then the street cuts across to put the inlets in, we'd work with Jeremy and our crews to essentially put them in as time allows.
Okay, say that again, Nate. So the Washington Street section?
So the main trunk line, the 24-inch diameter sewer west and then north, I would recommend that we put out for bid and have a contractor.
So the main line going down
sewer.
Master Drive,
Mhm.
all the way from Master Drive, all of Master Drive, and then to Washington
To
Street,
the
and then
connection point,
Washington
the
Street to
district
the
point.
east. That's going to be bid out, but to a
We
contractor.
bid that out to a contractor, have them essentially excavate it, put backfill in the pipe, and put a temporary surface on, and then we would do the surface restoration with asphalt. We would do the sidewalk removal and replacement. We would do streetlights if we wish to, and then the small 12-inch diameter sewers in the manhole or the inlets going west across Master Drive as time allows. That keeps our costs down quite a bit.
So wait,
I'd
you said
estimate
the
it
12-inch? 12-inch?
Yeah, those would be the little lateral pipes that would go across the street. So they would just pick up 2 inlets and then drop into the...
That's something we'll do in-house.
Correct. They're shallow construction, they're 30-inch diameter
So this is a
inlets.
24-inch pipe all the way from the north end of Master Drive to the south end.
Essentially, yes.
It ties into Washington.
Yeah.
That's the huge.
That's the big, huge-
48-inch diameter
Right.
sewer that
Are we
crosses
going
underneath the
to
river.
overflow that? I mean, is it...
No, it doesn't really run full now. It should, but there's problems back in the system that don't even allow it to take all the water it should. So, long term, I'm hoping to get a full drainage master plan developed with modeling, but that costs money and a whole lot of time. So, at this point, we're just kind of taking one project as we can, and this is an immediate need.
So you bid out the sewer on Master Drive, so before you get to the sewer, don't you have to take out the trees and the sidewalk?
Correct. So what
So
I'd
why
like to
do
do is
that?
have Jeremy and Dwight essentially scheduled to start doing some of the tree clearing and prep to do the sidewalk removal, kind of time that so that we're done with that demo and prep work so the contractor has an open space to essentially come and put in the sewer and then move on.
What's the timeline on that?
Optimistically, I'd like to try to put this out for bid in December.
So they can
So we
do it
could
in the
do
winter?
advertisement, and then if the weather's cooperates, then they can come in and do the project. It's relatively shallow excavation. The pipe bedding can be done in the excavation over the winter, even if it's not, hopefully it's not 10 below.
So you bid out the sewer line on Master Drive,
Mhm.
and that would include excavation for the sewer,
Excavation of
place
sewer,
of the sewer pipe,
backfill
backfill,
that.
and then
Just
where
put-
does it stop?
They would essentially put a temporary surface on so they could drive in and out and use that, and then in the spring, which in all likelihood is when the
What are you
contractors do
calling a
it.
temporary surface? Like
Essentially just
stone?
a gravel drive stone.
Stone?
Yep. So they put stone in so that people would have access to their homes, so they'd have a stone drive approach. We'd have stone brought
For a
up to
few
the
months,
surface
it'll
for a
probably
few
be a stone
months.
drive.
And then we can do some of the patchwork, and we can do the inlets as time allows for Jeremy and his crews.
Then we hire somebody to do the sidewalk and the
And then
driveways?
we either use the same sort of bid process for the sidewalks and
Okay. So you and Jeremy need to sit down and go
We're
over
gonna
the
break the
funding of all of
project up.
this, and, you
Yeah.
know,
We
because
need to-
stormwater's not gonna pay for tree removal.
No,
right?
and that allows us to kind of use the parks funds that have been kind of set aside, the crews that we have. If there's equipment that they would need, then that would be something we could discuss essentially.
Yeah, well, they can always rent it for
Yeah. rentals like that, and he's sent me bills for rentals of equipment to do repair work in the past. I just signed a bill for straw bales for some erosion control that they did recently.
But overall, the people that had showed up for that meeting last night were in favor of what you want to do.
Yeah, they want to see something done, and they were satisfied with what we had presented, so I was glad to see that, and I was kind of prepared for some questions or some challenges, but really it was a very good meeting. So,
Do you have a list of the people that were
yes, I actually have the attendance list here, so if you want that, I can make copies for everybody, so at least know who, their address and name are on that list.
These are the people that were
These
at the
were who
meeting
attended
last
the
night.
meeting last night, yep.
Do you also have a list of all the...
I
Affected
do, I
parties,
don't
yeah.
have that here, but I could certainly get that to you.
Really, the people on the west side aren't going to be affected.
Not the same way. The biggest issue, I guess, from their standpoint was, where are we going to park during construction? Because people park on both sides of the road right now, and when we're trying to do the work, essentially the east lane is going to be closed for parking, so they'll still have, our hope is to
Unfortunately,
have one lane open.
there's an alley behind that east side.
On that
so
east side.
most
The west
of them,
side
I think-
residents are going to be a little upset at the east side, so there's some things that we're going to have to do logistically to kind of get some information out.
Parking in my spot.
Parking control.
Had that
and
spot for
traffic
20
control
years,
is
now
gonna be a
you're
bit of a
parking in a high
battle.
spot. You know?
But knowing that that's going to come up is at least kind of prepares us for how we want to handle what we're doing and when we do it, so.
Inconveniencing the East Monroe Street folks. I heard a lot more compliments than complaints.
Mhm.
The way that
Well said and
project-
So once we get this started, I'm going to push to try to get this moving forward so we can close the project out. That way you don't have the complaints, because it'll probably won't be so much the start, it'll be after 4 or 5 months of waiting. Well, when am I going to get this done? So.
Yeah, well, you could probably bid it all out and get it done a lot quicker.
Oh, my, yes.
But if we did it with ourselves, it's probably going to take us 3 to 6 months longer.
I did a quick estimate of it, and we're looking at somewhere around $40,000 we can save by trying to keep it all in-house. So, and that's $40,000 we can spend on the next project. So, it's complicated, but that's why we're here to do this.
All right, any other questions for Nate?
East Monroe Street's a great, or Anthony Wayne rather, is a great example of they can do it themselves. It looks great. Works.
It
great.
works, it works. I'm interested in the next rain we get on East Monroe Street, you know, that water going to go to that detention pond. Now, how much water can that detention pond hold? So it's going to be interesting to see the next heavy rain.
Absolutely. No,
It has a lot of room to grow,
Yeah.
because the last one was awful heavy, and it handled it quite well.
All right, thank you, Nate. Tonight at the city council meeting, we're going to talk about salary ordinance. A couple of people have asked me a couple questions. Basically, the salary ordinance is a 2% increase on the salaries and wages that are current for 2015 was a 2% increase. I think that's how you figured it. Correct,
Yeah,
Phyllis?
that's, I mean, in the salary ordinance, that doesn't necessarily say that everybody's getting that pay that's in there. It's, that's the max, because everything says not to exceed, not more than.
Yeah.
So they might be, but 2% was added to every position.
Yeah. There was a couple questions about the janitorial position here at City Hall and the police department. A little awkward, and Phyllis, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, I understand, because your husband is the janitor there, so if that puts you in an odd spot, then just say so. Right now, the janitor gets paid on a salary, okay? So much for City Hall, so much for the police station. When we moved into here, we assumed that there'd be more time cleaning City Hall than it was in the old City Hall building, so we increased the pay accordingly. We did that though, I did check with the outside source that does that. It's from Bluffton, and the name escapes me. I know they do Burn Bank, they do First Merchants Bank, whoever that company is, I can't remember the name of it. But I did check with that, and the way we ended up doing it is cheaper than outsourcing it. So that's the reason we did that. Now, if you look at it, City Hall and the police station, it comes out to $29,000 a year as a part-time position. So that's quite a bit for a part-time position. So I just throw it out there for discussion more than anything else.
And that's if you want to add the 2%, because,
Right.
yeah, that's what it's the 2%.
I guess I understand that that's the maximum, right? But when does, I guess who makes that decision, and when does that fit? I mean, I guess in my mind I'm thinking that, like, the supervisor would come and say, I think this person needs a pay raise because of X, Y, and Z.
And that would be John, because
I haven't
the
seen it.
janitor.
That's new to me because I didn't know that was me.
Well,
To be honest with you, I did not know.
it's because that position is hired by you.
It would be the same as the
Parking control?
Right, that would be the same.
And I didn't know if that person would
But that is considered full-time, so she automatically gets the 2%. But like part-time, it would be up to John.
I guess it was just that, I didn't know if that person, because of like a facilities issue, that they would report to the Board of Works, but that's not a supervisor, that's just an entity, so it would be the mayor. And so I guess that's the question, is like, so it is part-time? Do we have salaries part-time?
Well, and the reason why it was set up like that, it's been like that for years. I mean, even when it was at the old City Hall, they always did salary just because it was, you never knew how many hours. I mean, it was depending on what events were going on or what was, I don't know, they've always set it up as salary.
I think, because when I first thought, I thought it was, if it's a 40-hour-a-week job, then he's not getting paid enough. I mean, because really, on a current pay, it would be like $8 an hour or less than. If we considered, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if we're doing $30,000 at 40 hours a week, that brings us up to the $14,400, which is kind of the standard. I mean, that's right up kind of where everybody else is. But I guess that does bring up the issue that it's not actually full-time.
How many hours a week does it take, Alice?
Jim said it's usually 5 to 6 hours a day between the two. Right?
And that's 5 days a week?
Well, sometimes on the weekend on the police department, because police department's open 7 days a week.
Well, I learned something. I did not know that was under my authority, I guess, so.
So in your 8 years, you've never had any
No.
correspondence with the janitor?
The only thing I did was when we moved into this new facility, I went out and got a price from an outside source to how much would it cost to have you guys clean this.
Okay, so if I'm doing my math correctly, assuming 6 hours on 5 days or 30 hours, we do an average of 30 hours a week. And I realize it's a salary position, it's not, but we're almost at $19 an hour then. So that's a lot more than, no, it's not more than a salary, it's more than an hourly employee. What's our greatest hourly employee? 16 on a part-time basis.
John,
1680 or something like that. So not to put somebody on the spot. I mean, I think we would be at,
Well, it should be considered not necessarily a salary. I mean, you're calling it salary, but it's kind of a contract between the city and Whitwright to clean both places. And I don't think you can pull in the hourly wage, because if he would need help to do something, or does he need help? Does he use other help?
Well,
I mean,
I tell you, Phyllis pitches in and helps when there's
well,
need help. That's what happens.
I guess
So
that's
what
what I'm
hours-
trying to say.
what-
It's his job to clean both places, depending on how much help he needs to do it.
Doesn't Jim work a day? I mean, his landscaping or whatever, does he work a day job?
He does groundskeeping, yeah.
So he does this 5 to 6 hours and when? Middle of the night or something?
Yeah.
Early mornings, a lot of times early mornings.
That's what's nice about it, you can make it
Flexible, yeah. The question to you guys is, are you comfortable with the salary? Or would you rather go to an hourly rate?
Seems like a lot to me. Like I said, I don't know what all is involved, but it does seem like a lot.
And part of the issue, maybe, Bill, that you're bringing up is that depending on the need, you don't know how many hours. I mean, just because we say you got to be here 6 hours. Maybe if the job's done, does that mean you have to stick around? Yeah. But the other side of that...
Is there a job description?
There probably is somewhere, I'm not sure where.
I just think 30 is hard to justify, but I think it comes back to where did that number come from? Was that derived simply because of the contracts?
Well, yeah, where it came from was, we had an amount before we came into City Hall. Okay. Basically, what happened was, we estimated, and now we've had some time to actually do it, we estimated that the time needed was going to double. So basically double the salary. And then the police department came along with theirs, says, okay, well, that should be comparable to what we had at the old City Hall, so we used that. So
Because the question is, has this time doubled?
right, that's the question only one person can answer.
Not really in a position to answer. You're kind of in a sticky spot right here because why would you say that you want to get your salary cut if that's what the city's offering to pay you? To me, that's a job I would think would be hourly, but I don't know why it would be considered salary.
Then should we leave it up to the new mayor? Since this mayor said it, should we leave it in the hands of the new mayor?
This mayor didn't set it. It was set, I think.
No.
Oh, you mean this new, the new, okay.
And the new police station. If it's an appointee of him, you know, because the new mayor's going to have an opportunity to make new appointments, just like the commissioners. They got about 40 things that they do January the 1st. You know, appointees, not...
Who cleans the courthouse, do you know, Bill?
Pardon?
Who does the courthouse cleaning?
Oh,
Amanda, isn't it Amanda?
Yeah,
Amanda Baker? Yeah, Tom Baker's
She
wife.
works for your brother.
Yeah.
So she is a county employee,
Mhm.
full-time, part-time, you know?
I think she's full-time,
Well, I
I
understand they work any
believe.
harder than that girl does.
Well, she does.
But this isn't an appointed position, though.
Yeah, it is. Is it not, John, an appointed position? There was no application.
It's always been there. I've never officially appointed any.
How long has Jim done it?
11 years.
11 years.
You know what I mean?
And then Beth did it prior to, before she took party control position, and she had it probably for 10, I think. And then Patty and Kate did it prior to that for probably 12.
Prior to that, Bob Ladd did it.
Bob Ladd and Jaminski did it then prior to that. And that was at the old,
Mhm.
the old City Hall. But another thing, Greg Cook mentioned is the security issue too. He'd like that, to have somebody that he could trust too, instead of
course,
outsourcing
yeah.
it.
Well, it's the same way here, there's a lot of information that,
Yeah.
you gotta have some, of course, I guess any business, if they're leaving cleaners in, they gotta trust them.
That's right.
I guess I'm coming from the aspect, I don't think they're questioning what he's doing or the job he's doing. It's what's fair to him, but also what's fair to all the other employers who are doing, like a City Hall employee. I guess that's where I'm coming from. There's not really part-time that would be making that much, I think.
I think really if you put in 5 hours a day and take that times 52 weeks, and that comes out to about 1,300 hours, and divide that into the salaries, it comes out to almost $22 an hour. Is that too much compared to what the other employees receive?
I don't know what I mean, sweeping the floor, I'm sure, and emptying the trash and dusting things,
Well, when it
washing
started,
windows?
he did a lot of the construction work that wasn't done with the new police station.
What's that mean?
Those people that did the construction work, they never cleaned up
Oh,
after
okay.
themselves,
Yeah.
all that had to be done. And he was at the old rate for the first 3 months. It was never, his salary was never changed until,
I guess I'd like to see what the job entails, I guess, and see,
and then that
Yeah, maybe
includes
we
the
can-
ordering and the supplies. and stuff,
Supplies,
too.
I think this is the position, only position I've heard any comments on, so that's why I wanted to bring it up, so.
well, I think it's the only one that accordingly, by way of hours worked,
Yeah.
is,
I have not talked to Jim about this at all. I mentioned something to Phyllis one time, and that was all.
So we actually, we actually did change his salary. I remember talking about it.
Yeah, we actually did change it when we moved here.
And then police was added on.
Police was added on a couple months later when they moved into their facility.
did he clean the one on 3rd Street also?
No,
They never had a janitor
no,
before.
they did it themselves. Nothing against you guys back there, but they didn't do a very good job either.
It wasn't a
No,
priority.
Kenny, you said that. Kenny did most of the cleaning.
He did? Okay.
There's 16 boys in that house.
Yeah, what do you expect, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, can you attest to what gets done daily at the PD?
Well, you know, I know trash gets, there's swept, it's swept, trash gets taken out. I don't pay much attention, to be honest with you, I'm kind of stuck in my own office there. I couldn't tell you how many hours is put in, I couldn't tell you where all it gets done. I know the back restrooms get cleaned, you know, janitorial things, maintenance type things, you know. How many, like I said, how many hours, how much is put into it? Is everything done every day? I don't think so. You know, I'm sure if the waste basket is a quarter full, I'm sure he doesn't need to take that out, you know, something like that. You know,
The main things are really, the restrooms need cleaned daily. You know, that's one of the main things. Another thing that we've experienced here that we didn't experience at the old City Hall is we open up the corridor here for events, evening events, which a lot of people don't like to pick up after themselves. We found that out, so there's some extra work, you know, maybe a couple hours every time we open this up, so.
The tricky part with the hourly thing is that he's going to work when he needs to work, and he's not going to be here when everybody else is. So,
Well,
it's not just him, it's whoever's in this position
Yeah.
is going to have to report their hours.
Right.
Um,
I'm going to use Nate as an example. Nate's on a salary, and I approve his hours for every pay. He turns his time card in every time.
Even though he's salaried?
Even though he's salary, he still turns in. Same with Melissa. She turns in a time, and then I approve that, you know.
that because the job description requires a certain
Well,
amount
I
of
think the
hours.
State Board of Accounts basically required that. Wasn't it, Phyllis?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that Nate puts in more than 80 hours in the 2-week period. And same with Melissa. And Beth, I think I approve Beth's too. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to bring it up. We don't have to do anything here. I just want to bring it up. There's a couple questions on it, so.
But he's already being paid.
Right.
Not what's in the salary ordinance, no. That's what.
That's 2016 salary.
2% higher.
This is 2% higher. The new salary ordinance is 2% higher. Yeah, gotcha.
When does it get decided if it's hourly or salary?
That was decided a long time before me.
I don't think it's ever been changed. Even they had a position where the person that ordered the supplies was paid a separate salary even.
So what's happened over the years is
As they combined that now. but-
they've had it, so then we just keep adding to it. Every time there's a salary increase, it was just added to it. bottom line is, do you think he's being paid too much to do this? I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
And without knowing what he does, I can't answer
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
I would say that in looking in comparison to other part-time work, it would appear that way. But again, that's where we need some direction, like, is he actually spending more than part-time hours?
There's only one person that really knows that. Jim?
Are you saying, can the city hall and the police station not be subcontracted out and clean for that number?
No. I got a price on doing that, both buildings, and, yeah, it was higher than those two combined.
And if you get somebody else to do it, it's not going to be classified as an hourly job anyway. So like I just said, it's a contract for them to do it. So I think that's why this whole thing probably fell into a salary-based deal, because you're wanting it done. This is how much you're willing to pay to get it done. You don't check on their hours. Even if you went and made them work at an hourly rate, you're going to have to come in and verify that they're working that much time. I mean, chances are they'll go sit someplace and do what they want to do if they get the job done. They fill out their hours. I'm just...
Down at the courthouse, does she work at nights, or is it done during the day, or what?
Amanda works during the day.
She works during the day?
I've seen her, I think she does the Superior Court also, I
Yeah,
believe.
that would
She
be
does
the-
courthouse and the Superior Court.
That would
I
be
think
the cleanest.
But she mops, like in the winter, she'll mop that main lobby floor 2 and 3 times a day. It's just amazing. And prior to that, they had a girl.
Would we be ahead to hire a full-time person, pay them less than this, get more hours out of them, and have them at the availability 40 hours a week during the day?
But you're not going to get them for less money if you make them full-time, because then you're going to give them insurance and everything else, which is going to add probably almost double their wages.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm sure insurance is pretty expensive in it, fellas.
Well,
So if it's a single, or, well, single's even expensive now, but family plan's almost $18,000 a year.
And they would be entitled to that as a full-time employee.
she may be entitled to holidays and vacation.
But if it's going to be a mayor appointee, does the mayor just want to bid it out every year, bid it out for a 3-year contract, or, Tim, how are those options even legal?
Well, if it's an appointed position, then it's at the discretion of the mayor. If you're talking about creating a position that you're going to bid out as a contractual basis, and you can do it that way, that would be your call. A Board of Works contract, probably. So,
I don't have the answer. I'm just saying that, we have no definitions. This just kind of came along like history. It's like police station didn't have a janitor, now they got a janitor. Did we take applications for a janitor? No. Somebody appointed him, and I'm assuming it was the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know whether it's an appointed position or not. It seems to be. So therefore, it would always be the mayor's prerogative to determine who's going to have that position.
Okay.
I think if the discussion is the increase, the 2% increase, let the mayor decide if he wants to give the 2% increase.
Yeah, mayor's setting that wage.
Exactly. If you're comfortable with the wage the way it is, the contract the way it is, why would he fall into a 2% increase?
Well, I don't think we have enough history to decide that. I mean, once we're in this for like winter, it takes more time, I would think, than in the summer. But I could be wrong. So, but yeah.
I'd leave the wages the way they are. If you do what...
Does he do snow removal, Phyllis?
No, normally the street department parks kind of come, they do it together, they go out and do the snow removal.
But he's got more work because they're tracking salt
Yeah,
and that
salt,
kind of stuff.
right,
That's
yeah,
what you
that's right,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think in my mind the 2% was the issue at all. I just was not aware that we were already paying $30,000 for service.
Well, I think that's what came up. Do we give him the 2% increase like everybody else? I think that's how the discussion started.
No, the
No, I
discussion
think the
started because
discussion was-
Pam and I both contacted John about the $30,000 salary.
Yeah, that's what
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of
Yeah.
that, so.
And I remember talking about it, I guess as I looked into it, I just didn't realize that we'd already done that. So now it's not an issue of do we want 2%. I mean, the conversation would obviously have to be, do you want to decrease salary? And
Is there any way that you can get hours just like you get from me? I mean, was that...
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do that. To be very honest with you, I did not realize that this person was working under my authority. I did not know that until tonight. So, I don't know why I'm getting hours from Nate and Beth and Melissa and not getting hours from Jim. Jim should be turning in a timesheet then if that's what I'm doing.
I mean, the janitor never did, but I mean, he's willing to do that,
Yeah.
if you're
I
requesting
think
that.
it would be better so everybody has an idea of
Yeah,
what's going on. Because
exactly.
right now, we're just guessing that he works 5 hours a night.
Yeah,
And-
we don't know.
What is he responsible for? Like I said, if there's everybody here has a job and a responsibility. What is the responsibility of the custodian?
That's it. And somebody asked about a job description. I've never seen that.
Yeah, because
So,
Ken,
I'd like to
is
see
it
it.
just cleaning, or is it minor maintenance? Those are two different things.
Do you fix the toilet when it's leaking, or I don't know.
I guess, yeah. Because if the wall
Good
was
discussion.
up, so, we bump into that wall, do we call a painter, or just, this guy?
Take care of that, huh?
Job description.
Exactly. We don't have one.
So who's responsible in telling his orders, John or council?
I don't know if it's the mayor or if it's the Board of Works.
Right. The council just approves of salary.
Right.
Doesn't oversee employees.
I mean, just like the Board of Works, but you make, when people apply for jobs, you guys hire them, the council, we pay.
Yeah.
Or work doesn't oversee employees either.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody has a supervisor.
But they oversee the supervisor.
Okay, but who's the supervisor?
Yeah, well, I meant in the other job. I thought you were talking about.
Whew.
Way to go, John.
Yeah, why did I bring this up? No, it's good discussion. No, I did not. I did not.
Because I think it's bringing up deficiencies.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that these conversations aren't. That's very good.
Okay, hey, we can go on. I'd like to sit down with Jim, talk to Jim a little bit about it, and I can report back. We can always pass the salary ordinance tonight and then make an amendment before we do the third and final reading. We can do that.
And it does say not more than.
Yeah,
So I mean, you
right.
can.
Yeah,
pay
yeah, it says not more
Right.
than, right. Yeah, so,
Okay, so we can pass it tonight.
well, we're probably, if it's okay, we'll probably pass it on 2 readings. The final adoption would be at the next meeting. Yeah, it says not more than X amount of dollars bi-weekly. All right? Okay. Try to report back to you before
That's
that
what
next
I-
meeting.
I'm kind of in a sensitive spot too, because he is my uncle.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not questioning, it's more questioning what is being done for $30,000.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Because obviously it is more. This
Yeah.
is a much bigger building, and there's a new police station.
Yeah, Phyllis, I
Greg
don't
Cook's not here, but Greg said,
take
I'd
defense
really
of
like,
anything I've
we got
said.
this new building, I'd really
Question.
like a professional in here cleaning it, because we weren't doing a very good job of the old PD. Take care of what we just built.
Right, yeah. All right, I'll report back to everybody. Thank you. Tim, while we were discussing that, did you have a chance to look at these easements?
I am, that's what I'm, yeah.
These are easements that I&M Indiana, not Indiana, American Electric Power, I think that's who it's under.
AEP? Yeah.
AEP. So, they're, and it's the area out by Hannah Nutman Field from behind Schaefer's building, we'll call it.
Well, there's actually four different
easements that they're requesting.
Right, they break it down. The first easement is this is for their upgrade of their transmission lines. And the strip mall where Schaefer's building used to be, where they're putting up the new Mark Beaumont's strip mall there, it's that area behind that.
On the west side of that.
On the west side between that and the golf course and Hannah Park. So they're looking, there's two easements. One is from basically Dayton to Mybers, and then the second is from Mybers to Washington. Then there's two others that are kind of localized. They're little areas further north as you head towards where the new substation is going to be. One is located at Yorkshire Drive, or near there, and the last one is, looks like it's near El Camino restaurant.
Yeah, that drive that goes back to Innovative Concepts,
Okay?
that drive there.
So they're requesting easements and right-of-ways from the city, and they're offering to pay for these easements. The payment and how they arrive at this is just a per acre price based on the acreage. From what I can tell, it looks like, I want to check to see what the easement, or what they're paying on those. It doesn't say.
Some of those easements, Tim, are for overhead only, aren't they? I mean, like the El Camino entrance.
That I don't.
I think it's
I don't
just
know.
overhead. So they're not
Yeah.
asking for an easement to dig.
I
in the
don't
ground.
know that that's necessarily, unless it's shown on one of these drawings.
And we don't have to do this tonight, Tim. If you don't feel
Yeah.
comfortable,
Well,
you want to talk to their agent there.
I can give Justin Yates a call, because he's the agent that I spoke with briefly about a week ago. But basically, they're for the easement that runs behind Mark's from from Washington down to Mybers. It looks like they're offering $6,945. The easement that runs from Dayton up to Mybers is the next one. That's the little strip that we tracked down, the 7 beneficiaries of the two.
Yeah, but
They're offering $5,000 for that. And then the two localized easements, one is $5,000 and the other is $5,000. So,
it's a little over $20,000.
right. It's all for their their distribution line upgrades. And you know, I know that they need it, because I know that they're running the lines down Dayton, and then they're going up towards the substation, and I think they go across Bungie, and then they angle out towards Monmouth from there. So, if you're okay with me giving Mr. Yates a call, I'd like to ask him a couple of questions.
That's fine.
I'm curious how they arrived at the prices that they did.
I suggest we table that until you can...
Okay.
So this Mr. Yates,
He's the right-of-way agent for AEP.
Well, really, he's the right-of-way
With
agent for Indiana
Michigan.
Land Services,
Right.
who
Michigan Land
AEP
Services hires,
this firm to do it.
Right.
they wouldn't know anything about the property that they co-own with plumbing.
Oh, no, the old North Plaza.
well, and that's one of the things that I want to talk to them about anyway, because a few months back, we had a survey done by Brett Miller to try to clean up. We have some easements out in North Plaza. So we want to get those straightened out with AEP, and probably with Greg Fleming as well. But so we're gonna require some easements back from AEP. So I want to make sure that that's something that they're willing
The
to
idea when that,
cooperate with
if I
us.
remember right, the idea when that North Plaza was sold, Fleming bought where Coast to Coast used to be, and then AEP bought the rest. Well, the idea, a verbal agreement they had between themselves was AEP would then sell some of that parking lot to Fleming for parking for where Coast to Coast used to be. That's never been done.
Right.
So really, they're not in compliance.
Right.
The owner's supposed to have X amount of parking spots. They don't have any.
When the other, it's an L shape, right?
Right.
So the north portion, or the east portion, is that in a parking lot that's owned by
EP. Yeah.
And I know that, well, probably they want to do some development out there. I mean, there's tenants out there, there's actually been discussion that other people want to go into that space, but
Yeah.
Craig doesn't own it.
Doesn't own it, right.
So if there's any way through this conversation that we can connect.
Right,
Put
that's
some pressure on.
I would
getting
like to
something
sit
done.
down with them and see if we can't get this hammered out in a more comprehensive way.
Yeah.
That's
What
my
is their
suggestion.
long-term plan? They have to tell us, or they can just...
Well, their long-term plan is they're going to put a substation in. That's why they really bought it. I think they'll put the rest of it up for sale eventually.
I think part of the issue, though, is that the answer that maybe Greg got at first was that they can't go on a private contract like that, that they would have to go to bid and offer. Who in the world would buy a parking lot that,
Yeah.
so...
I think when they made the original verbal agreement, it was kind of local people, but now you're getting higher up in the AEP
that we can't...
hierarchy, and well, we can't do that now.
Like Mr. Baker tells us.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me,
Let me do it. It'll be done tomorrow.
I think it would be good maybe to get Nate and Jeremy to sit down with either Mr. Yates or possibly some people from I&M. And let's kind of walk through this, and let's make sure that, we get done what we need to, and we'll certainly work with
Protect the
them.
city's rights.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to table this, Tim, for these minutes till the next meeting, and in between that, we'll try to get everybody
See if we
together
can-
and talk to them.
Yeah.
Maybe Kim Sabrowski is the lady I always talk to with I&M.
Right.
Maybe she can get us to the table with the right people.
Okay.
Either Tim Ziesler.
I
might be able to
know
get us
we
somewhere.
talked to them early on because we had some input with them with regard to some of the natural site screening or landscaping, and there
And I
was
think
some,
we got some water lines back in there.
Right.
We have some
We need-
easements for that.
we need to get those cleaned up, that's what I'm
All
saying.
right, we'll sit down and get that done.
Because there were some kind of verbal agreements, yeah, we'll take care of that, but that's not been done.
Okay. Another item, we'll go to a different item. It's been suggested to me, and I'm not sure who brought this up, if it was Melissa or who. Maybe it was Wiley, I don't know. Decatur Main Street. Anyhow, about maybe changing the direction of the alley that runs on the east side of the former City Hall building. Right now, it's a one-way alley going to the north. Do we want to open that up to one-way alley going south, or do we open it up to have no one, either way, the way you want? I don't know.
When I first started,
Maybe Melissa or Riley, I know you guys were involved in the Main Street, and maybe you want to give us the reasons why.
when I first started, through Main Street, we've been talking about how do we better access our parking lots and parking areas. I know last city council meeting, Cam Collier presented some figures, I think it was two city council meetings, that there's been a study, and Bill, I think you were a part of that study several years ago, and we've been reviewing that the last year or so. And with that, just trying to help our downtown merchants and our customers and people in the downtown area, how do they access parking? We've got a lot of parking spaces, but a lot of it is the signage and how do you direct them to that. So what John has just indicated, we're looking at the alley there by the old City Hall, Founders Park, and suggesting that City Council consider making that a two-way, back to a two-way. No longer is it needed for the deposit, which that's why the one-way would be out to Monroe
Utility
Street.
bills, for people that use utility bills, that's the main reason it was changed.
So you're talking making the whole alley two-way
Yes.
from Monroe to Madison?
Yeah.
Because it
Yes.
goes the whole
Yes.
length.
Correct.
I think it'd
Um,
be difficult to do two-way.
Well, we've kicked that back and forth because my original thought was, okay, let's make it a one-way south off of Monroe, because you could put some signage and even temporary signage for events like been going on the last few weeks. Melissa's been doing a good job with some of our merchants on doing that, and putting on Monroe to the south. But I've also had people saying, but, you know, there's reason to have two-way, because one reason is because of the truck that delivers to Sherwin-Williams. If at some future point we decide to make that alley a pedestrian alleyway, which has been talked about, the alternate route would be coming in on 3rd, that parking area, and then he could go straight on out using this alley to Monroe Street. And that was actually a truck driver's suggestion. And the majority of our alleys, I've been told, I didn't go around and look, but are two-way alleys. It definitely, at least, I could see an alley directional to the south. When you're talking about to the north, there is a pedestrian hazard there because of the sidewalk. But ultimately, right now, the suggestion is to make it a two-way alley. When you're coming down Monroe and heading east, if you want to park in that parking lot behind Two Brothers or that area, you have to go all the way around. Even if if you're coming from the west, because 3rd Street right now is one way, you can't access it other than going all the way around. This would allow you right from Monroe Street to directly access that parking lot. So that's what we want City Council to consider.
I understand that thinking, because you could put some directional signage, municipal parking, pretty simple, you know, right on Monroe Street, so.
Right on the side of the building, too. I mean,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. What I was going to say, the ironic thing about this whole thing is when I was checking out all the signs and make sure that all the ordinances, all these signs were under ordinance, and all the one-way streets and everything was right, that alley was one-way heading south
At that time?
at that time when I was doing it. And it's
I
first
think
day I
it was
came on.
2010, I believe.
And I said, well, why in ordinance is it one-way heading south and we have it one-way heading north? And somebody said, well, the street, or when you did your box and everything, the street commissioner at that point just put one-way signs and never changed the ordinance.
I like that kind of.
Yeah.
Worked for 20 years.
Yeah.
It worked for a while, didn't it?
Yeah, it was cute.
Depends how the police enforce it.
You know, and I have no idea, what's the history of the one-way streets on 1st and 3rd? Is there a reason that those...
Well, it's not, first is not one way.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3rd
Third and
Street.
fifth.
3rd and 5th.
The 3rd, 5th.
Well, actually, one of our
Yeah, they always
future
said it.
suggestions is to look at those one-ways.
Well, the only reason I bring that up is, you know, the issue of, would it be safer to make that a two-way street on 3rd Street to have direct access into the parking lot, as opposed to bringing traffic out at the alley where if you got people coming down the sidewalk, you don't see them until you're right on top of them.
Right. Well, that's why I would suggest, if you're going to do that, that it would be one-way south in that particular alley.
That's what I mean,
But it's not that way now. 3rd Street is one way
Right.
this way.
And the alley goes this way.
Yeah, I think making the bare minimum, making the alleyway one-way south makes a heck of a lot of sense.
I don't know if you want to get in on that two-way, there's not enough room there, is there?
Well, there's not any alley. We have all kind of alleys.
Yeah, most alleys are two-way, it's just whoever gets there first.
Right, but if you're
But-
going to have cars turn off this main road, and you got another car coming down, you're going to have
They
a
can't
mess.
see, well, first of all, they can't see them
See.
because of the corner, the building's right
And
there.
this is a busy, I understand a back alley, you can see someone coming,
Yeah.
but you're turning off a high-traveled road, I don't think that makes a whole lot of
But I
sense.
think it makes turning into there,
Makes sense.
yeah, because then you could put signage from both sides, and it's right there, it's easy access, and honestly, it's quick access back out on Third. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does
You
that
leave the
address
parking lot on the
trucker's
first street.
comment, though?
well, I guess my only thought about that would be, it hasn't been closed yet, I mean, that other alleyway.
Right.
True, it hasn't.
Trucker
The other,
should
the other thought was for the trucker, that he would make the turn around in that back parking lot and come out to Third Street, but his turn would probably take away a few parking spaces.
How about, Brad Marks was in on that discussion, who has a business of that
Yeah.
stage. How about the attorneys? Did they ask, do they have any opinion?
I had not,
I think we need to contact all
Because they're in that
business
alley a
owners
lot.
along that whole stretch.
The flower shop?
Yeah.
yeah.
But you could almost make all those alleys one-way to the parking lot. Right?
So you
What
would
is
have...
the alley right to the south of Sherwin-Williams?
It's one way in.
One way?
But if
into
you look at
parking
the
lot.
alley next to...
Well, actually, it's not one way, it's just in that. Yeah, I don't think there's a one-way sign. I mean, that is normally how it's used.
Look at the alley between Wood Wings and the Home Place. That's a two-way alley. It's used all the time. And there are a lot of accidents in the alleys, police. And that's a pretty heavily traveled two-way alley.
But you're saying right next to the paint shop there, that's a one-way alley?
No. I don't
The
think
one
it's
next...
one way.
One way going west?
Another block up.
Yeah, I think there's a sign there, one way going west.
There is? Is there a sign?
I'm pretty sure.
We'll have to look tonight.
You can't go east on that
Go
alley.
look, Bill, please.
It's a one-way...
I think there's a sign right at...
One way going west.
Okay.
Yeah. Next to
Sherwin-Williams.
Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, we try to leave Sherwin-Williams.
I don't know that I've ever seen somebody come out.
They always
the
say-
second-
But the other side, my side of the street...
I always use that
Alleyway.
alley when I'm coming back to
A
get
lot
to the
of parties
That's why I go around.
Going to
down
Benny's
that
or
alley.
Star Insurance or Acorn.
But no matter what we do, we need to contact the business owners and give the information out for the
I'm
public.
not
to have
opposed
a-
to it, I just don't want
Right. Well, we're starting these conversations.
Sure.
That's why I wanted to bring it to city.
Brad Marks and
Council.
attorneys and those in that
And
stretch to say, hey,
Main Street, I know Brad's comment was he would like it two-way.
But you don't have,
But-
I mean, you don't, from the parking lot to Madison, you can still keep that two-way. You wouldn't have to, just because you're making this one, that doesn't mean that has to be one way. And I think that would satisfy everybody.
The one thing I would like to consider is because of my initial thought was this alley being just to the north is because when cars come out to the south, when cars come to the north, there is that sidewalk and it's a blind spot until
It
you're
is,
actually
it
there.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, from personal experience, I was pulling out there one day and this kid comes flying over on a bicycle,
Yeah.
scared the heck out of me. I mean, I didn't see him and he didn't see me, you know,
Yeah,
and
you gotta kind of nudge your way up
you
or
barely move out until you can see around.
It has been to the north. I mean, we've been doing it, but again, our purpose is to
Makes a
bring
lot more
this
sense
for
going
discussion.
that way.
And I think that's wise, and then sometime in the near future, maybe we ought to discuss about one-way streets, Third and Fifth. Do we need them, the way they are? Or, the story I always heard was because of General Electric.
More so, I think Jackson and Marshall than Third and Fifth.
Now, when you say
I mean,
because
it's
of
only 2 blocks.
What's that have to do with
They're one way.
Street?
I think
that
when they
was
went to,
Traffic
came to eat, came downtown to eat
Well,
from their parking
it was
lots.
really, I think, going to work and then leaving work.
Yeah, that's what I mean, just,
It's supposed to-
get in and out.
Make it quicker.
Make it quicker for them.
Right.
Shift work, right? They were
There's 1,000 employees,
A lot of cars moving back and forth.
I'm not sure 3rd Street really needs to be one way, but that's something for the future.
yeah.
something out in the post office.
Yeah, the post office boxes.
Someone
would
must
be-
have stopped at Zinni's. I was looking for that sign. Well, he's back. What is it, Bill?
It's one-way west to our parking lot.
All right. That's one way west. And there again, Cam, that's just for that half block, like you were saying. Yeah, it's just for half a block.
Yeah, because once it hits our parking lot,
It could be one way off of Monroe
One way off
Street to that
Monroe,
intersection.
one way off of Madison,
One way off
one
of-
way off of Second.
right.
We don't.
Or, and you could have two-way
Automatic.
from Madison to the alley, going north.
Madison to the, yeah.
You could go two-way there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great discussion. Keep it in mind, I'm not sure how we address this. Melissa, we have a few minutes. If you could bring us up to date. Melissa went to Indianapolis today for a regional meeting. This was not just for Decatur, Adams County. This was for Northeast Indiana. And if you've heard of the regional initiative,
Regional
Cities Initiative, where they're throwing $42 million around, really 84, which will divide it into 2 different regions. Northeast Indiana is applied for that, and their presentation was today to the Indianapolis people who are going to make this decision. So Melissa went down, represented Decatur and Adams County, and there was about 40 people went on the bus to Indy.
The presentation was very well done. The partnership did a great job of telling the story of the region, and a lot of the history of the region. It was important for them to say, this is what we've been doing for the last 10 years. This is kind of where we've fallen down, but this is where we've had a lot of successes. So a very well done presentation. The mood was very different than our Stellar presentation.
That's basically it. That's, you can compare this to Stellar. But it's the same idea, only a lot bigger in dollars.
The IEDC is the group that's making the decision, and they were the panel that was being presented to and asked some questions. They asked questions in a very civil tone that was meant to make the group think, but also was that they had lots of compliments to pass along to the partnership as well. So that was a good feeling.
How big is our region?
It's in 11 counties.
11 counties.
And this is the largest region that is coming in for the application in 11 counties. There were presentations all day yesterday and all day today.
Our presentation, did they show that video? There's a video on
There's a
it.
video which features lots of images and video from Decatur. Cam is in the video.
We got nominated for Academy Award for that, I believe. So, yeah.
It was a great trip today, and I think that they were thankful that they got some representation from all 11 counties.
So what
And-
comes out of this? I mean, what is this?
We, just like Stellar, we wait until November, December until the IEDC makes a determination of who the 2 recipients are.
Oh, so you have applied for something through them?
We submitted a
Okay.
plan. We submitted a plan, just like we did for Stellar.
Okay.
And that's true. She says IDEC,
Indiana Economic Development Corporation.
Okay.
There was 4 projects of the, every county submitted projects.
Right.
And Adams County has 4 projects that were part of the plan that was presented. In all, there's $1.4 billion in
Yeah,
projects that were presented.
With a B?
B,
Billions.
for the whole region, for our
For
region.
the whole region.
Normally, Northeast Indiana is a 10-county region. This particular effort, Kosciuszko County, which is Warsaw, joined in with us. They wanted to be part of the region.
And
so-
that's a question the panel asked. why did you go with this region instead of the South Bend region?
Yeah.
And they came back and said, we chose to go with the region where we go out to eat and spend our money, which is in Allen County and Fort Wayne.
Good answer.
So,
So yeah, in November, late November, December, sometime in that time frame, we'll find out if the region was awarded.
Is there a short version of the 4 projects for our county? I mean, that you can kind of,
South Adams Trail, because the biggest project that's being presented as part of the plan is a regional trails network that would connect all 11 counties by trails in some way. The Second Street Loft project.
Your indicator.
The Second Street Streetscape project and the Downtown Facade project.
so 3 of the 4 things were Decatur.
And part of our SCIP that was a stellar plan.
Second Street lofts, the facades, and what was the last one?
Second
Streetscapes.
Streetscapes. And they're going in big categories, and the biggest category was the trail system. Another big category that they're seeing that every community wants is a downtown facade program. So they presented that as an 11-county
Facade
downtown revitalization plan. That is there a way for everybody to participate at once? Did that reduce any costs at all? That sort of thing.
So there's 84 million that state legislature approved will be given to 2 different regions. So Northeast region could get 42 million. They just don't give you $42 million. You know, to go ahead and do your thing. You have to submit the projects. You have to show them how you're going to do your share of the funding. You know,
It
so.
was very apparent that the panel had read through the plan in detail. They asked some very specific project-related questions, in particular about the landing and the riverfront development plan for downtown Fort Wayne. They had some concerns about it, and they brought that up and said, you know, if you're awarded, there's going to have to be some serious discussion. Can this get done on the timeline that you want? Is the DNR happy? So they have looked at it, and they are thinking, and it appeared they were thinking in the best interest of, you know, this is your project. Is there a way we can make it better or make sure that it's the right project?
So 2 awards, how many regions submitted?
6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
And
So
some
the
of the regions,
odds aren't bad,
well,
really.
some of the regions are only 2 counties. 2 counties went together, you know, and that was,
Like
we
Indianapolis.
have the largest region.
There's a couple counties that are there's a couple regions that are 2 or 3 counties.
Yeah,
Most of them are in the 5, 6, 7-ish
yeah.
This is,
range.
you know, Stellar is kind of a child of Oprah.
Mhm.
The AEDC, this is economic
IEDC.
development. And it's strictly quality of life initiatives. It's about, hey, we can grow and develop talent, but how the heck do we
Keep it.
retain or attract new? It's all about quality of life.
And if you've sat through our Stellar presentation and you sat through this today, a lot of those same themes are there. So in our town hall meeting that we're going to have later this month, and the partnership's going to be here to talk to us, we're on the right track.
Cool.
As far as talent retention, attraction, quality of life, those themes are not just here, they are throughout the region.
All right, so,
We'll keep you posted.
yeah, you went down there and came back. What was the conversation on the way back? Does it seem positive?
Yes.
What most of our Northeast Indiana? When she says partnership, that's Northeast Regional Partnership. John Sampson's the director of that.
When we talk of quality of life initiatives and the fact that we were just ranked number 2,
I've seen that.
how do we best promote that? And I know that's a different discussion for a different day, but it's something I think
That wasn't in Indiana, that was nationwide.
Nation.
Nation.
we should be screaming that from the mountaintops.
Yeah, it was
I know we don't have mountains,
I
but
think
Realtors.com, wasn't it?
Yeah, Realtor.com.
it'd be interesting to know where that, how they derived that. But, you know, that's not the only, we've had multiple things in the last year that...
I think we were the 3rd safest in the state of Indiana. We were.
so I share that on Facebook, and I get comments from someone from here that lives in Chicago, someone from here that lives in Vegas, and someone from here that lives in Texas. They're excited about their hometown and what we're doing, and I just think it's
But I think
a
part
great
of,
opportunity to push this even more.
yeah, I think it's somewhat of the momentum from the wheel that I expect that, why did Realtor.com even, where did they
Consider us.
find Cater? Well, it's because our name has been out there because of the other things we've been doing with Stellar and all that type of stuff. So, it just keeps on going. And some of it's self-marketing, but you're absolutely right. We've got to shove this in the rooftops and,
We did have our population wrong.
well, that's the county.
That's Adams County population.
And they did.
That's minor detail.
There's no credit to the weed control and sanitation debris.
That's what really did it.
That put us over the top.
But it was a good positive thing that, we didn't designate it, somebody else designated it for us, so, yeah.
As in, like the safest city,
Yeah.
top whatever we were.
I think we're 3.
That's because of Mahan, so we might as well just point that out right now.
Is there anything else you might want to bring up, really? We have
Keep it up.
5 minutes before we do our city council meeting. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate your help.
Barney Mahan.
Yeah. One bullet.
Melissa,
No, it's
would you
almost,
check and skip that?
it's kind of like people that live near the ocean. They
It's on,
get
okay. That's all right, leave it on.
so used to
Just
it.
gotta remember to turn it off at the end, because we leave it on and then it runs the battery down, and we're gonna use it next time, it doesn't work.
People that come in, that are visiting, that recognize that. And I think in some ways, we're guilty of that in our own community. I think we take for granted the fact that we do live in a great city, that there are good people here, that it is supportive of others. And
Go one.